Hey, so actually I don't have any plans to do any video up until this coming Friday where I'm traveling to Japan, where I was planning to just do a outdoor shoot when the kids are like asleep already because I want to do something a little bit different. But cannot because the past 1-2 months I have been seeing this constant argument or debate out there in regards to one sort of real estate topic, and the kaypoh person in me kind of feel like I have to be busybody enough to like just share with you guys and give my 2 cents worth on this debate itself. Okay? And that's why I have decided to just, you know what, come in unscripted. I never planned this at all, and I'm just going to blabber whatever it is that comes to my mind. What kind of topic is this? What kind of argument is this? Is actually the resale versus new launch. Now I have this question being asked many times for many years already, so I feel like I want to come out and I just want to share with you guys. And of course, if you have been watching my video long enough, you know that I've touched on this topic many times for many videos already. But hey, if you have seen it, then you have seen it. But if you haven't seen it, then today is me dedicating one entire episode in regards to this topic about resale versus a new launch. Disclaimer, whatever I share does not constitute financial advice. It is solely based on my opinion on what is right or wrong. So please do your own due diligence. If you're liking the content so far, please hit the like and subscribe button, as your simple gesture will help a lot with the YouTube algorithm. If you are interested to find out more about property related matters, please find all the social media handles I am on, or you can just directly reach out to me on WhatsApp. Separately, I have also set up a Telegram group at the start of the year so that we can have a discussion that we as agents are not allowed to do so online, which is to talk shit. So if you are interested to get into a community that talks about everything under the sun about property, please scan the QR code, or for the boomers out there, I have pasted the link in my description. We're going to close the group invitation in probably a month or 2 times, so head over and I will see you there. Now back to the video. Now, disclaimer, whatever I'm about to share constitutes to just my opinion on what is right or wrong. I have been looking at plenty of numbers. I have been talking to all walks of life, HDB upgraders, condo upgraders, landed downgraders. I have met a lot of different people, and this is, as I mentioned, my opinion based on my on-the-ground sentiments or observations. Okay, for those of you guys who know me long enough, I'm someone who is constantly on the hunt for value, and I believe value shouldn't take sides, because value can exist in the new launch market, it can exist in the resale market, it can exist in the landed market. It does not matter. So it cannot be like, oh, there's only value in the new launch, or there's only value in the resale, or everything is all cast in stone to say that only landed can make money, because I just want to share with you my thought process. Okay, let's say for example today I'm someone living in District 15, and I also hear this argument to say anyone looking at $4 million to $4.5 million sort of properties, right, you must well buy a landed property. Now, is that a fact? The answer is yes. It's a fact. It's a fact only if you can detach your emotions to say, you know what, if I'm constantly looking for a house to stay in District 15, $4 to $4.5 million budget, and I want to buy one of the resale condo there, I can buy a landed property. But can you buy one landed property in District 15 area? The answer is it's possible, but either the land is super small, it's in a very bad location, or the house is so run down, you have to spend at least another 500, 600, 800k on renovation or recon or A&A. So it's more than just that. And then some people say, you know what, $4.5 million, I can go to outskirts OCR and buy a nice landed moving condition. But have you ever thought about it? If your mindset is set to stay in the East Coast area, asking you to go to the OCR areas to live in just because you want to buy a better asset class doesn't work for everyone, right? So sometimes I can tell you that I've, as I mentioned, met a lot of different people who stays in, let's say for example, Ulu Pandan or somewhere in District 10, and they say, you know what, Clinton, I want to invest in a certain amount of money today, tell me what's good. If I tell them that, look, Okay, by the way, my job is to tell them that this is where the money is. I will still tell them that if you have the chance, you go to the OCL and buy, let's say, a 3 or 4 bedrooms for investment rather than buying a 2-bedroom in the CCR location. But you have to understand, even though I tell them that that area makes more money, very often and not, a lot of them will be say like,
you go this kind of OCL Tampines area to buy a resale property or a new launch. No lah, cannot lah.
Right, so there it is. Property purchase is more than just money. It's also a combination of emotions. Not everyone can accept certain location, even though the value or the investment potential is much better. We have to respect that. That's why when I hear people saying only can buy new launch or can only buy resale or can only buy at certain areas, I'm always like, yes, it's true if you can detach your emotions, but very often when we talk about property, there's still some emotions in play. Like for example, if I look for landed properties, even though there's certain value in Seletar or let's say Springleaf, I just cannot bring myself to buy it. I rather buy the districts of, let's say, 15, 19, 20, where I know there's plenty of demand. Hey, at the end of the day, I may be wrong. Maybe the Seletar property or the Springleaf will make more money, but there's something that, as I mentioned, it's an emotional part of it that you cannot neglect lah. Anyway, talk a bit too much, so let me drink my water a bit. And as I mentioned, today's video is a bit more freestyle. I'm going to share with you what I've been hearing out there because, as I mentioned, there's the camp of pro resale and pro new launch. I will share with you what are the concepts they're bringing out, what sort of numbers are they bringing out to kind of bring out the argument, and then we find out whether is it a fact or not, and then I give you my 2 cents worth. Actually, you know what? I give you my 2 cents worth of resale versus new launch before I talk about the arguments, okay? For me, at this point of time, when interest rate is at its level of say 1.3, 1.4, 1.5%, the resale market really represents more opportunity. It doesn't mean that confirm for sure resale market is gonna outperform new launch because certain resale properties are the price I tell you is very expensive. Like I give you an example, Sterling Residences is trying to push $2.8, $2.9 million for a 3 premium land. It's like you go for all those kind of RCL location, you don't have $2.5, $2.6 million, you cannot buy a 3 premium land. Hey, that is not cheap, you know. So even though resale on surface level looks much cheaper than new launch, that is a fact. Because why? New launch can be cheaper than resale, resale is meant to be cheaper than new launch, but the resale market right now, even though cheaper, is very, very close to the new launch prices. Hence, of course, it really depends on what price you pay for. Today, if you get a good price, then I can tell you, because your interest rate is low, this is based purely from an investment point of view. If your interest rate is low, then I can tell you, without accounting capital appreciation in there, resale has a very big advantage. And what advantage there is, I will share with you guys in a short while, okay? I personally feel that if you have a budget of, say for example, 1.8, 1.9 and below, 80% of the time, for those of you guys who plan to reach out to me, or those of you guys who have already reached out to me for consultation, I'll tell you, bro, just go for resale properties, because you still can buy a 3-bedroom OCL properties or even 4-bedroom that's semi-close to the MRT, whatnot ever, as compared to buying a new launch 2-bedroom. Okay, I'm not saying a 2-bedroom new launch won't make money, but I just touched my heart. I feel that, you know what, if I buy the 3-bedroom or 4-bedroom OCL, I think I have a higher chance of making money lah. So it really highly dependable on what price, because the comparisons are clear in such a manner that today really 1.7, 1.8 I don't think you can really buy much new launch right now moving forward, okay, especially in year 2027 and 2028. I believe the 3-bedroom is going to benchmark starting from $2 million onwards, but now we still can maybe squeeze in a 1.8, 1.9 million dollars 3-bedroom new launch, but 1.6, 1.7 is absolutely no chance, which means that in this range, just buy a resale property lor. Now the trickiest budget to really work on is, at the moment, is $2.5 to $3 million. Okay, I'll tell you why, okay? And $2.5 to $3 million, you can really look at new launches and resale and find what's the best value, okay? So every day for $2.5 to $3 million is really the range where you can start to look at both new launch and resale, and you really cannot definitively say like for example, under 1.8 you can go for resale, because I tell you why, 2.5, say $2.5 to $2.7 million, I feel that you are too rich for OCL. 3 or 4 bedroom. Because OCR 3 or 4 bedrooms is somewhere around, right now, fairly decent locations like 2.2, 2.3. Then if your budget 2.5, 2.6, you feel that if you buy something that is 2 to 2.1, you are not like maximizing your capital. And then it's like, then you start to be a little bit confused. Then you start to look at RCR 3 bedrooms. Then RCR 3 bedrooms is like 2.6, 2.7. Last time was maybe you can squeeze a 4 bedroom. Now you still can squeeze a 4 bedroom at 2.8, but the RCR is like not as hot lah. But those very good RCR is like 2.6, 2.7 million dollars for a 3 premium. So guys, it's not cheap right? 2,600, 2,700 per square feet. As I mentioned, like Sterling Residences, Jadescape is really like 2.7, 2.8 million dollars. So this kind of price is also quite scary lah. And the rental yield also not as good. Coming of which, as I mentioned, I will touch on rental yield, so that's later on. But 2.5 to 3 million dollars is the hardest number to crack at the moment. But anyway, that's a different topic altogether. All I just want to say is because the interest rate right now is very, very low at 1.4, 1.5. If you're lucky, you have gotten 1.3. I gotten 1.3% right at the end. But like I said, 1.5%, no matter what, accounting both with no capital appreciation, the resale, and that's a fact, the resale will have an advantage for the next, at least the next 4 years, so long as you keep your interest rate low. Okay? So let's talk about a couple of things. We talk about the pro new launch. They will always, like you see, all these are all unscripted, so I never plan ahead. So I just have to, y'all cannot see, I have to refer a little bit to what they always bring out for their argument. The pro new launch people always say, look, cash flow, it's better. Well, today, of course, if your parents are supporting you, if someone's supporting you, if the husband is using more cash upfront for the wife or vice versa, then yes, cash flow is much better for a new launch, especially bank of parents where the parents are supporting, as I mentioned. Cash flow is very important for them. That's why most of them, they choose new launch over resale, because resale you can pay the 100%. So that's a fact. Then, of course, their logic is every few years I can flip. Of course, you can flip every 3 to 4 years. Right now it's 4 years, last time it's 3 years. And then one big factor why they also choose new launch is because I can tell you, this is very common. I also don't understand why. I don't see any reason why, but I respect that. Is some people just want to invest into the Singapore real estate market and they really don't want to care about anything else except just like paying some installment and whatnot. They're very scared of handling tenant. I don't know why. It's like a lot of them, I ask them, hey bro, really there's more value in the resale market, but they say no, I only want new launch because I don't want to manage tenant. I don't like managing tenant. Then I'm like, huh? Then I manage for you lah. Then it's like, no, I just don't want. So very funny, but there are people like that, so I respect it. It's really just about investing in property. You have a piece of the Singapore real estate without bothering about other things, because sometimes rental can be quite mafan also, but I also don't want to kind of manage it. Anyway, so your CPF contribution, if you buy under single income, it should be able to cover you for at least for the first 2 years. Now, if you buy under 2 income or rather combined income, 2 packs, your CPF contribution should be able to cover, technically speaking, I would say technically speaking, based on interest rate at the moment, should be able to cover you all the way to TOP law. Then when you TOP, you rent it out for the first year, is based on 85% disbursement, then it covers, it literally covers for more stuff. So really it's about investing for the next 3 to 4, 5 years without, as I mentioned, without worrying about collecting rental, without worrying about tenants, without worrying about just managing people. And of course, as an investor, every cent counts, so a lot of them also worry about spending money on renovation here and there. And that is where the pro new launch people will bring up this number to kind of kill resale. They will say along the line that, hey, if you buy a resale, you need to factor in $50,000 to $100,000 in renovation. Then I'm like, as I mentioned, I'm an agent also. I'm like, why would you want to spend 100K on renovation and not stay in it, right? If you're spending 100K on the renovation and not moving in it, then it's really overpaying. You're just overdoing it, because technically speaking, if you get a semi-decent resale property, you just go inside, you change the simple stuff like flooring, you will repaint the house, just repair some stuff. You shouldn't spend more than $30,000, you spend $50,000, $100,000, man. So is that realistic? I think is not so realistic. So I actually think that the numbers are a little bit exaggerated. I will usually set aside for my clients $20,000-$30,000 for simple minor repair. You don't be too extravagant. But really, it's on you because you put a number of, let's say, $80,000, $90,000, $100,000. I will share with you exactly why that calculation doesn't make sense if you're buying for a resale property for investment. But as I mentioned, these are the numbers the pro new launch people will bring out for argument purposes, right? So yeah, I mean, that is what the pro new launch people will bring to the table to counter against resale, because, and I can tell the pro resale people has more say, they have more arguments to say, you know what, new launch, you guys don't make as much as resale in the past 4, 5, 6 years. Is that a fact? That's a fact. Let's talk about the pro resale people. So the pro resale people, what I can tell you, they have a long list of things that they will say to downplay new launch, okay? And again, let's see whether is it fact or is it like a myth, or whether we can counter that. Okay, so we talk about first thing. They will say that, look, resale has made more money the past 5, 6 years than new launch. Is that true? The answer is it's a fact. If you look at the OCR regions, if you look at the RCR spots also, they have risen quite some bit in the past 6 years. Now let's talk about past 6 years, because of course new launch also make a lot of money. It's like rising tide raises all boats or something like that. But anyway, so new launch and resale has made quite some bit in the past few years. But let's talk about data all the way to 2020, because really at the point of time, anybody buy anything except like District 1 or 2 or those high NCCR areas, they all generally make like 40-50% return. So I like to use from 2022 to 2023 onwards, because you realize that the pro resale people will use the 2022-2023 new launch to shoot it down to say, you know what, your AMO residences like don't make much money and then your landor modern also don't make much money. Is that a fact? The fact is, yes, certain resale properties are making more money than all these new launches. Now, these new launches right now has already crossed the SSD. It's maybe a couple of months away from being the 4th year already, so they have been like maybe trying to sell for close to 6-7 months. Now, if you look at the numbers for AMO residences, the returns looks like it's much better, rightfully so, because AMO was our new launch of 2022, because of course AMO, you have schools, you have Amokyo, it's all the plus points that one have, which is why I also tell you that Thomson View, as I mentioned, or Thomson Reserve is going to be similar to AMO, but it's like many times better than AMO, of course, depending on what price you pay. But anyway, I digress. I'm straying off topic too much a little bit. Okay, so Landor Modern isn't making that much money because of course you got all the supply issues in the Landor itself, but they still make a reasonable $400,000 to say $450,000 for the 3-bedroom, and the 2-bedroom is like okay, it's like $150,000 to $200,000. Now, if you look at the resale properties, actually I can tell you in the RCR, a lot of people say, oh, you buy any resale in the past 3-4 years, you're making a lot of money. Is that true? Like I said, let's use things that happened after 2023 as a gauge, or end of 2022. You realize that the hotspots in the RCL also make somewhere about 300k-ish. You talk about, let's say, Park Esta, even Park Esta sub-sale back then until now, you also don't make that much. Or even, let's say, for example, when I know these are hotspots that a lot of people like to be buying in the past few years, is they talk about the east, the Tampines area, they go all the way towards the northeast area, also let's say the Punggol area. You're making a 3-bedroom, buy $1.6 million, sell 1.9, buy 1.55, sell about 1.9 for the northeast area. You buy 1.4, sell 1.6, 1.7. So they're also all making $300,000+, but of course their percentage gains is a little bit more because the entry level is lower for these OCR properties. But ultimately, I have to say this one thing, it really depends on which unit type you buy. For example, if you go in that time at $1.6 million for a new launch, you can only buy in 2022-2023 only a 2-bedrooms, and then you compare the same pricing, you are able to get a 3-bedroom, the OCR area. Same thing, I would say. The same logic applies right now. If you are comparing a 2-bedroom and a 3-bedroom, meaning a 2-bedroom new launch versus a 3-bedroom resale, I will always still say that the 3-bedroom will always stand a better chance. But if you compare 3 versus 3, then actually the numbers are about the same, right? And then, as I mentioned, the debate, the resale people will say, you know what, AMO residences, and as I mentioned, Lentor model isn't doing that well. But I also want to tell you this one thing, and I said this many times to my new launch buyers. If you really want to buy new launch, if you want to exit after seller stamp duty, very likely you won't be making that much money. You'll be paying decent amount of money. But if you want to be making like the likes of Jadescape and Park Esta or Park Clementes, then you need to wait it out a little bit, because this is the norm. If you sell after SSD, guess what's going to happen? I always tell my clients, okay, this is like taking a train. Okay, at the first stop is where all the buyers bought the train, right? Then the next stop, naturally, for the train to move is going to be after SSD. So during SSD, there will be a lot of people alighting the train. And that's what we call the investors lah. So investors always have different reasons to sell their house. Maybe, okay, they saw something else better that they want to go for, they just want to flip, they want to do something, God knows what reason, right? But usually they will have a reason to alight the train. Let them alight first. Now, good properties will see a lot of people alighting. Then naturally, once the investors leave, the homeowners, because it's very nice, will stay put. Nobody wants to sell, nobody wants to rent. Then naturally, the next stop subsequently is really where demand picks up, there's no supply, and that's where your price goes up. But that period of time usually takes a while. It takes about 1-2 years for the investors to be really flushed out of the markets. Then really what's there or who is there in the developments are mostly people buying for own use. And then, as I mentioned, it's a good product, they don't sell. High demand, naturally the price goes up. This is consistent even with the likes of your highly profitable projects. FYI, in Jadescape, Park Esta, Tampines Treasure, whatever it is, you don't believe me, you go and check the data. If they launch in 2018, 2019, and let's say you put a 3 years exit, 4 years exit, you look at the 3 bureau data. They also make only like maybe, if I recall, it's somewhere about 300-400k, right? So the pro resale people right now are saying that, hey, now you AMO or Lentor model only make 300-400k a week, because they are in the initial phase of the investors exiting. You give AMO 1-2 more years. I pretty much believe that those people now only make 400-500k. Easily next 1-2 years, you'll be making 700-800k. Very likely minimum 600-700k. It's because AMO there, you notice the supply is getting lesser already, because it's about 1 year since, almost 1 year since SSD already. You watch, you see the supply getting lesser, the demand still there, the price will just climb up. For Lentor modern, it's a bit different, because Lentor modern, it's not only one train. You have plenty of trains. So, and the plenty of trains got different exit points. So that's more of that area problem rather than just the development itself. But that's what I'm trying to illustrate. Even very good developments, first 3 years after SSD, or even 4th year, the price appreciation is all 300-400k. Even the very good ones are 450k to 500k. It's the same. Then why last time you all don't say that about those Jadescape Park Clementes? It's because you all look at the transactions right now and you see that they make 700-800k, 900k, and you say, you know what, you can never make the same money as Jadescape and Park Clementes and all the very good ones. Because if you see, they bought in 2019, sell in 2025, that's 6 years. So if 6 years, you want to compare a development that's making 300-400k, 500k in 3 years versus a development that makes 600-700k in 6 years, 7 years, not fair. So don't believe me, do your own research. And I can tell you, a good property, typically, I'm telling my consumers out there who reach out to me, if you buy a new launch in today's market where everything is so high, 5 to 7 years is the most optimal exit horizon. Okay, so as I mentioned, pro resale one, they will always bring out the point of having rental gains as advantage. Let's try to understand these numbers. And as I mentioned, I'm someone who has been analyzing these numbers for the longest time. So I'm going to give you every single bit of what you should come to expect. Just for argument's sake, example only, okay? We use example, let's say $2 million purchase, right? $2 million purchase, if you let's say buy today $2 million and the rental is 5k, which is close to 3% rental yield, which is not bad. Simple math, if your your purchase is $2 million and you max out a loan of $1.5 million, and based on interest rate of 1.5%, of course, you can get as low as 1.3, but let's, for argument's sake, put 1.5 lah. So 1.5, which means that every year your interest rate, which is the biggest component of expense as far as property purchase is concerned, is $22,000, somewhere around $500 lah. My math don't fail me, is $22,500, right? And then, okay, let's not guess. Let's look at the numbers. I have it here. Okay. Then you have agent commission, $5,500 per year. Maintenance fee, let's say is about $350 per month, and then that's $4,200 a year. Property tax for a $2 million purchase, estimation is somewhere around $5,500 to $6,000 if you rent it out. Again, this is based on assumption if you buy for pure investment and you want to rent it out. And then income tax, I'll share with you guys in a short while. So assuming you rent it out at $5,000 a month, after subtracting all your expenses here and there, you should have a net gain of 21,800 there about agak-agak, because anyway, year after year your interest rate component gets a little bit lower, but it's about there, just for argument's sake. It's 21,800 per year net. But that's where the income tax will come into place, because I'll subtract all the expenses already and then that is 20% income tax. For example, let's assume you are 20% income tax which means that every year you're gaining 17,440 Then if I say multiply by 4 years, that is close to $70,000 in rental returns in the next 4 years. Yes, it's actually very, very attractive. Now, this number works only under two assumptions. Number one, there is zero turnover in your rental unit, which means that you are damn heng. You really super ultra heng. You buy something, the next 4 years you rent it out as the same tenant. Zero turnover, right? I usually like to factor in 1 month turnover for every 2 years. So if you have 1 month turnover, which means that if you talk about 4 years, is 2 months. 2 months you take away close to about $10,000 off that $70,000, you are $60,000, right? Still good, That is where the part where I talk about renovation that you're gonna spend to buy a resale property comes into place. So remember, the pro new launch people will say, wow, if you spend $50,000, $100,000, that's something you need to factor in when you buy a resale property. I like to disagree. I believe, as I mentioned, if you spend, these where the numbers really come to play and make sense really, because after subtracting the part where the unit remains empty for 2 months, for 2 years or 4 years, then actually you are left with $60,000, right? But if I spend money on $100,000 on renovation to renovate the place, then effectively this $100,000, you take away $60,000 which you are gaining, you are net off after 4 years, you're losing $40,000. If you really want to spend $100,000 just to renovate a house to rent it out, of course you can add value and don't want to stay in it, then the number doesn't work for resale. That's why I advise my clients, consumers, when we settle for resale properties, please just spend wisely. Don't spend anything above $50,000. To me, it's like $20,000, $30,000 is enough. Change the basic stuff. Flooring, as I mentioned, flooring, painting, certain things spoil, just change. $20,000 enough already. So even if I use a conservative number, which is what I've been advising my clients, as I mentioned, and we have been doing it, spend $20,000, $30,000, you take away $20,000, $30,000 out of $60,000, you still left $30,000, which is a fact that you are better off buying a resale. And that's what I'm trying to tell my clients. This number makes sense right now if you buy a resale. Because don't forget this one thing, your new launch also you would have progressive payment, which means that you also have a set of interest to pay. Now, if I were to use a very basic number, because all this interest really depends on how fast the developers build, so and so forth, I always like to use the 50% call up as far as progressive payment is concerned. We use that as a gauge. The interest rate, based on a $2 million purchase, $1.5 million loan, the interest rate is somewhere for a progressive payment, somewhere about $700, right? So if I take $700 multiplied by 48, can see here is $33,600, which means that new launch, you lose $33,600, resale, you gain $30,000, so net off the delta is somewhere about $60,000 difference. So correct buy resale, it's a fact that your rental gains is, even though you add in some expenses here and there for some simple renovation, it is still a better thing, assuming both properties have no capital appreciation for the next 4 years, just for argument's sake. Do you know what's the other fact? The other fact is, I also hear people saying, in the past 3 years, you buy resale, you collect rental gains and blah blah blah. Wow, that one I really disagree also, okay, I'll tell you what. So let's use the same calculation, which is buy $2 million, and then you have 5K rental, which is okay. And then now the interest rate from 1.5 I increased to 2.5 because that was what the interest rate was from the year 2022 second half all the way to last year 2025, which is a solid like 3 years lah. So the interest rate back then ranged or rose very quickly from somewhere around 2% all the way to 4%, as high as 4%. But just for argument's sake, okay, just for argument's sake, imagine today you secure a very good interest rate in the past 3 years. You're very smart, you get it at 2.5 fixed for 3 years, whatever it is. So I give you 2.5, okay, which means that the past 3 years is 2.5, which means I add one more percent, which is $15,000. You times 4 is $60,000 already. So which means that at an interest rate of 2.5%, the calculation kind of doesn't make sense really when you say rental gains, because as I illustrated to you, 2.5%, you add one more percent extra, 15,000 times 4. Effectively, you got no rental gains for the past 3-4 years. So, is that a fact? That's the fact. Imagine your interest rate is 3 or 3.5%. You add 2% of 15,000 times 2, $30,000 times 4, $120,000, which means that those people who really buy and secure a 3 to 3.5% rental yield, that one's a different topic altogether lah. But that's a fact, and people ignore that anyway. But that is the past. Now is now. You have to understand, now we are dealing with a low interest rate environment. That might change still, but the fact remains now that the interest rate is so low, resale really do have a strong advantage. But as I mentioned, this is all not accounting capital appreciation. This is just based on numbers. And you always have that topic about which one will perform better. To be very honest, nobody knows, right? I repeatedly mentioned I only know where the demand is when you have certain comparisons. As I mentioned, if you are talking about resale 3-bedroom in the OCR or 4-bedroom in the OCR versus a 2-bedroom new launch, I will always say the money, or rather the value is with the OCR or 3-4 bedrooms, because we know that, as I mentioned in countless of my videos, that the money is in the outskirts. It will still continue to be in the outskirts. The money will flow there. If you buy a 3-4 bedrooms to attack, or rather to cater to the HDB upgraders, it is still the way to go. As I mentioned, it's all guessing game. Everyone is guessing because what has happened in the past 3-4 years may not repeat itself. It's like, let's say for example, this development has performed, or rather has gained 30-40% in the past 3-4 years. It doesn't mean it will gain 30-40% the next 3-4 years also ma. If they do that, it means that in the 6, 7, 8 years they have gained like what, 80-90%, man. Cannot be ma. I mean, possible, but then again, it really depends on the development itself, the pricing, and because today's market, everything is very expensive, so it's really about pricing. I know a lot of you guys have texted me asking me, what do you think about Tampines Street, City Life, all this? I think it's okay, but have you guys seen the 3-bedroom pricing? The 3-bedroom pricing is treating $2 million already. Is it cheap? I think it's okay lor. Last time it was cheap because last time it was only 1.5, 1.6. Now it's $1.92 million. Hence, as I mentioned, someone who is constantly on the lookout for value, I have to look at the development itself, I look at the pricing, I look at the comparisons within the surrounding neighborhood itself, and then we decide whether it is a good price or it's a bit of a trap. But ultimately, my thoughts about this resale versus new launch, as I mentioned many times, is really highly dependable on what that particular individual wants. Like for myself, even though as mentioned, I own a landed property, would I live in it? Right now, I'm just buying based on what I think is right as far as money making is concerned. But where I want to live in, the answer is no. One fine day when I sell my landed property, I want to buy something for own use. The same dilemma will arise, should I buy a landed property for own use and then stay in it? But I don't want. So the thing is, I don't like staying in landed property. I just buy condo law, so not right, not wrong. It really depends on the individual itself. Now, my job in this whole equation is to really sit down with you guys to understand what you really want. Some people want a certain district, some people want a certain lifestyle. No right, no wrong. It cannot be, oh, only new launch is suitable for you, only resale is suitable for you. No, it's what exactly you want. It's really about what kind of properties or what kind of location that, or what kind of lifestyle that kind of fits your requirement. And then we find the balance. Find the balance is in what? We find the one that, okay, at which development is, like for example, let's say today I want to stay in the Queenstown area, I'll tell you, oh, okay, maybe you can go for Commonwealth Tower. I think there's still value in there. You hit a certain price, then off you go already, right? Same thing, ma. Today you want to go Queenstown. Cannot be. I'll possibly ask you to go to Tampines or Northeast, even though, very likely they will make more money. But that's not how property works lah. That's not how property purchase is meant to be lah. But I understand the debate can be someone purely buying a property for own use. But always remember this one thing. Not everyone is after just making money. They buy property, sometimes they hold for a long term, they hold for mid to long term. To them, it's really a mixture of both. They want to sleep at night comfortably, they want to feel good about a property purchase. Of course, I've questioned a lot of people buying certain type of products, and because as I mentioned, because I've been applying our QPE framework for the longest time to evaluate whether property is worth buying or not. When you're able to do that, I can tell you a lot of properties is in today's market very overpriced, overhyped. I don't even dare to recommend my clients and all. But if other people can do so, then kudos to them lah. For me, it's really about hunting for the best value based on what's available out there right now. And that can really be in a resale or new launch or landed, it does not matter, right? So I said this many times, highly dependable on what you want in life, what kind of preference you have. Then ultimately, just find something that best suits your requirement lor. That's all it is lah. So again, if you go out there and you see people saying, hey, you know what, only resale works or whatever it is, come on please. Right? Or if you hear an agent or somebody else who rebuild that and say only new launch work, hey, come on just exercise some common sense a little bit. It's not how it works. It really is dependable on what you want. I hope today's session here, which it was supposed, as I mentioned, it's not a TLDR version. I really want to do a long form to touch on this topic, because if you guys reach out to me, I'll still say the same thing. I will sit you guys down, I'll understand your situation, and we'll see like what kind of things like best suit you lah. But yeah, I mean that's my thought process on this debate lah. Anyway, as I mentioned, I'm flying off this coming Friday already, so I'm planning to do some video in Japan itself. I'll be gone for like 10 to 12 days. Then after that, we're gonna come back to the studio itself. There'll be a couple of new launch for me to cover. Not that exciting, but let's see how it goes, because I'm still waiting for a blockbuster at the end of it, which is Thomson Reserve. Anyway, as I mentioned, it's going to be school holidays already. A lot of you guys are probably going to go traveling, bring the kids out. Please go and take the kids out. I always make it a habit to always bring them overseas for holidays. But please do so. Stay safe. Those who are kids you're drilling them for PSLE. In a few months' time, give them a bit of break. I understand. But ultimately, as I mentioned, stay safe, stay invested. Resale versus new launch, always remember it does not matter, because value can exist in any segment of the market. Happy holidays, guys. That's it.